She's America's golden girl, the smiling, sparkling icon of joy and laughter. But behind Goldie Hawn's infectious laugh is a career filled with tension, betrayal, and behind-the-scenes battles. In this video, we're uncovering the 6 actors Goldie Hawn reportedly hated working with the most. You'll hear the real stories that never made the headlines. We'll take you inside the drama, behind the cameras, and into Goldie's personal reflections. This is the truth behind the smile, raw, honest, and unforgettable. So sit back, because by the end of this video, you'll see Goldie Hawn like never before. Goldie Jean Hawn was born on November 21, 1945, in Washington, D.C., to Laura and Edward Rutledge Hawn. Her father was a band musician who played at major events, and her mother owned a dance school. Born into a family that celebrated the arts, Goldie was exposed to music and movement from the very beginning. By the age of 3, she began ballet and tap dancing lessons, and it quickly became apparent that she had a magnetic presence. Her mother's dance studio became her playground, and she was often found mimicking movie scenes or performing for family friends. Goldie was never shy, she exuded a zest for life, even in childhood. Despite this, her upbringing was not without conflict. Her parents' marriage was often strained, and Goldie herself has admitted in interviews that she always felt like she was walking on eggshells at home. These early experiences would shape how she interacted with people in adulthood, warm on the outside, yet always protective of her inner world. By the time she was in her early teens, Goldie was determined to carve out a life in entertainment. She studied drama at American University, but she dropped out before completing her degree. At 19, she was already dancing professionally in New York City and eventually moved to Los Angeles, where she hoped to transition into television or film. Her big break came in 1968, when she landed the role of a ditzy blonde on the hit sketch comedy series Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Goldie's high-pitched giggle, carefree demeanor, and comedic timing made her an instant favorite. The role would both make and haunt her. Many in Hollywood began typecasting her as nothing more than a pretty face with little depth. What people didn't realize was that Goldie was intensely sharp and observant. She played into the stereotype not because she was that person, but because she knew that's what audiences wanted. This self-awareness and shrewdness would become a major point of friction with many of her co-stars over the decades. In 1969, Goldie stunned critics and fans alike with her dramatic turn in Cactus Flower, co-starring with Walter Matthau and Ingrid Bergman. Her performance was a revelation and earned her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. This victory launched her into A-list status and shattered the dumb blonde image many had imposed on her. But behind the glitz, the tensions were already brewing. Her co-star Walter Matthau, though legendary, was reportedly condescending toward Goldie during filming. He allegedly referred to her as just a dancer and doubted her acting capabilities until the Oscar win. While Goldie never publicly slammed Matthau, close friends revealed that she never wanted to work with him again. This was Goldie's first taste of being underestimated by male co-stars, a theme that would continue to play out in her professional life, sometimes leading to clashes that turned personal. While her on-screen presence radiated energy and optimism, Goldie Hawn's personal life was far more nuanced. In public, she appeared carefree and lighthearted. In private, she was thoughtful, introspective, and often burdened by anxiety and emotional strain. In numerous interviews, Goldie has acknowledged her struggles with depression and panic attacks, especially during her early career years. She felt conflicted between her rising fame and her deeper desire to find peace and meaning beyond the cameras. Fame brought with it not just adoration but also scrutiny, and Goldie hated being misunderstood or belittled, particularly by men who doubted her intelligence. Her mental health struggles were compounded by the gender politics of the 1970s Hollywood scene. Despite her Oscar win, she found herself repeatedly battling stereotypes, something that would ignite fiery tensions with co-stars who dismissed her talent or saw her as a threat. Goldie's first marriage was to Gus Triconis, a dancer and director, in 1969. Their union lasted 7 years, and though it began in love, it ended in detachment. Goldie later described that period as one where she was lonely even while married. Her ambitions were growing rapidly, and Gus didn't seem able to keep up. In 1976, after her divorce from Triconis was finalized, Goldie married Bill Hudson, a musician from the pop group the Hudson Brothers. Together they had 2 children, Oliver Hudson and Kate Hudson, both of whom would go on to have successful acting careers. Unfortunately, the marriage quickly soured. Bill Hudson later accused Goldie of emotional distance and criticized her public image as misleading. Goldie, for her part, claimed Bill was unfaithful and emotionally volatile. Their bitter split turned into a public feud, especially as Bill accused her of turning their children against him. But Goldie's most enduring relationship began in 1983 on the set of the film Swing Shift. The man was Kurt Russell. Goldie and Kurt never married, but their partnership became one of Hollywood's longest-lasting romances. Goldie admired Kurt's grounded nature and respected the way he handled her fame and independence. Despite the strength of their bond, they too had to survive tough times, including public scrutiny, family blending issues, and Goldie's internal battles with her career versus family priorities. Goldie Hawn is famously close with her children. Her daughter, Kate Hudson, has frequently spoken about the deep wisdom and strength her mother provided. Despite her glamorous career, Goldie placed strong emphasis on emotional intelligence, resilience, and independence when raising her kids. Goldie's own childhood, with emotionally distant parents and conservative expectations, made her especially committed to being present for her children. But she also shielded them from the ugliness she had experienced in the industry. She would later describe how the entertainment machine could grind people down, and she did everything in her power to keep Kate and Oliver from falling into the traps she once fell into, being seen but not heard, admired but not respected. This maternal protectiveness would also fuel many of the grudges she held against certain actors and directors, especially those who treated her poorly or attempted to manipulate her. By the late 1990s, Goldie had become more withdrawn from Hollywood's center stage. She turned her focus toward Buddhism, mindfulness, and Eastern philosophy, saying she had grown tired of the industry's superficiality. Her spiritual awakening didn't just help her cope with fame, but it also gave her the tools to manage anger and bitterness. Though, as insiders say, there were still names from her past that she refused to forgive. She founded the Hawn Foundation to promote mindfulness education for children, an initiative inspired by her own journey of emotional healing. This shift in focus brought her peace, but it did not erase her memories of betrayal, disrespect, and rivalry, especially with certain co-stars and directors. Goldie could be tolerant, but she had her limits. And when crossed, her response was quiet fury, not public scandal. With her Oscar win in 1969, Goldie Hawn transitioned seamlessly from TV comedy to major motion picture success. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, she became one of the most bankable actresses in Hollywood, known for her versatility in both comedic and dramatic roles. In particular, Private Benjamin was a turning point. Not only did she star in it, but she also co-produced it, an extremely rare feat for a woman in that era. The film was a box office hit and earned her another Academy Award nomination. But it was also behind the scenes of this and other projects where tensions would build. Tensions with producers, writers, and especially male co-stars. Goldie Hawn once famously said, "I played dumb, but I was very smart. That was part of the joke." The problem was that not everyone understood the joke. Many actors she worked with saw her as the bubbly blonde she portrayed. A few resented her rising influence in Hollywood. Some actors, both male and female, struggled to share screen time with a woman who, through her charm and timing, often stole the show. Privately, Goldie began keeping mental notes of who treated her fairly and who didn't. She was known to be incredibly professional on set, but also no nonsense. If she felt belittled, undermined, or controlled, she didn't start a shouting match. She simply walked away and never worked with that person again. It's no secret that 1990s Hollywood was a male-dominated, often toxic industry. Goldie encountered sexism frequently, being asked to undress unnecessarily for scenes, being told to smile more, or being questioned on her intelligence during interviews. There were directors who saw her merely as eye candy. There were actors who didn't like sharing the spotlight with her. And there were a few who, though charming in public, were competitive and condescending in private. Over the decades, rumors have circulated about who exactly she clashed with. In some cases, those conflicts became public knowledge. In others, they remained hushed but evident to those who worked behind the scenes. One Hollywood insider who worked on House Sitter 1992, where Goldie starred opposite Steve Martin, once recalled, "Goldie was never difficult. But she had zero tolerance for arrogance. If you tried to dominate her, she shut down completely, and she never forgot it." Goldie rarely named names in interviews. She was too media savvy for that. But over the years, a few actors began appearing in lists and rumors as people she would never work with again. Some were whispered through crew gossip. Some came out in veiled comments. And others were revealed indirectly, by the way she left projects, refused sequels, or dismissed offers despite hefty paychecks. Actor Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was once considered comedy royalty. After gaining prominence on Saturday Night Live and a string of box office successes in the 1980s, his persona as the smirking, sarcastic everyman became a Hollywood staple. But to many colleagues, including Goldie Hawn, working with him was anything but pleasant. The two starred together in the 1992 romantic comedy, Seems Like Old Times, a film written by Neil Simon. It was their first and last major collaboration. While the movie was a modest success, behind the scenes the chemistry between Goldie and Chevy was volatile. Goldie, known for her generous and bubbly energy, reportedly found Chase's sarcastic and biting sense of humor grating. While the studio pushed for the pairing as a comedic dream team, insiders recall that Chevy's passive-aggressive nature and tendency to ad-lib scenes irritated Goldie, who preferred a more collaborative and respectful work environment. One crew member said, "Goldie was incredibly professional. Chevy, not so much. He'd belittle people, act bored, and once even made a joke at Goldie's expense in front of the whole crew. She didn't say anything, but her demeanor changed after that." Chase reportedly questioned the film's direction, the script, and even his co-star's performance. He once said in an offhand interview that the film was too fluffy and lacked edge, a comment Goldie saw as a subtle jab at her. Goldie, who took producing and acting seriously by this point in her career, resented the implication. According to friends, she later said she'd never work with a man who hides behind sarcasm to deliver cruelty. While she never named Chase publicly, industry insiders put the pieces together. They never collaborated again. In fact, when asked in a 1990s interview whether she'd consider a sequel to Seems Like Old Times, Goldie simply responded, "Some things are better left in the past." Friends say she considered Chase to be the embodiment of the toxic male ego that dominated comedy circles. Despite being a sharp comedic mind, Goldie couldn't forgive what she viewed as arrogance mixed with insecurity. Actor Bill Hudson. Goldie married Bill Hudson in 1976. At first, their romance was passionate. Goldie had just come off the high of Shampoo, and Bill was riding the success of his band, the Hudson Brothers. But tensions emerged quickly. Goldie accused Bill of being emotionally manipulative, while Bill believed she prioritized her career and public image over family. After the birth of their children, Oliver and Kate Hudson, the marriage deteriorated. Goldie filed for divorce in 1980. Their divorce was followed by years of public feuding. In interviews, Bill painted himself as a victim of Goldie's ambition and control. He claimed she turned their children against him and prioritized fame over family values. In 2011, Bill released a memoir titled Two Versions, The Other Side of Fame and Family, in which he accused Goldie of infidelity and alienation. He referred to Kurt Russell as a replacement father, and expressed bitterness at how Kate and Oliver rarely acknowledged him. Though Goldie largely refrained from public rebuttals, her children were more vocal. Oliver famously posted Happy Abandonment Day on Father's Day, a dig at Bill. Kate, too, distanced herself publicly. Goldie was said to be devastated by the memoir and Bill's ongoing need to vilify her. Privately, friends said she was furious and heartbroken, especially for her children. She considered Bill's behavior to be selfish and vindictive. To this day, Goldie has no relationship with Bill Hudson. She refers to Kurt Russell as her children's true father. Though she has forgiven many people from her past, insiders say Bill is one of the very few individuals she would never reconcile with. A close friend once said, "Goldie's light dimmed for a while because of Bill. She doesn't hate easily. But with him, it's as close to hate as she gets." Actor Walter Matthau. Walter Matthau was a Hollywood legend, beloved for his grumpy charm and dry wit. But working with Goldie Hawn on There's a Girl in My Soup, 1970, brought friction between the two. At the time, Matthau was already a respected veteran, while Goldie was a rising star fresh off her laugh-in success. Matthau reportedly did not respect her comedic instincts, seeing her more as a pretty face than a peer. According to production sources, Matthau would often interrupt Goldie during rehearsals, offering unsolicited advice and claiming certain jokes were too cute for real comedy. Though Goldie was respectful, she later confided to friends that Matthau treated her like a dumb blonde, and it infuriated her. In one instance, Matthau allegedly mocked her Oscar win, joking it was for charm, not acting. Goldie, who had begun building confidence in her craft, chose not to confront Matthau publicly, but she drew a line. She would later advise younger actresses to stand your ground, even if the person towering over you has decades more experience. While Mathau's remarks may have stemmed from old-school habits rather than malice, they left a scar on Goldie's memory. Actor Burt Reynolds. Goldie Hawn and Burt Reynolds never starred together in a major film, but their paths crossed several times throughout the 1970s and early 1980s. They were both industry icons at the time, charismatic, attractive, and highly sought after. Rumors swirled that they were nearly cast in a romantic comedy together, but Goldie reportedly refused the offer after a troubling interaction. Despite Burt's smooth public persona, many actresses, including Lonnie Anderson and Sally Field, have detailed how manipulative and controlling he could be in private. Goldie experienced this firsthand when meeting Burt for a script reading. She found his attitude sexist and dismissive. One producer recalled, Goldie said Burt tried to test her, interrupting, cracking crude jokes, and undermining her ideas. She got up and left mid-meeting. Goldie never publicly criticized Burt Reynolds, but she declined all future collaborations. When asked about him during an interview in the 1990s, she responded, "Some actors want a scene partner. Others want a mirror. I prefer the former." It was widely interpreted as a dig at Reynolds, and few doubted it. Actor Steve Martin. Goldie starred opposite Steve Martin in House Sitter, 1992. On paper, it was a perfect pairing, two comedy titans. But according to multiple insiders, the shoot was strained. Martin, known for his perfectionism, clashed with Goldie's improvisational instincts. He wanted structure, she wanted spontaneity. Steve allegedly became irritated by Goldie's tendency to riff during scenes, while Goldie felt stifled by Steve's rigid adherence to timing. Tensions grew, and though they remained outwardly professional, the relationship was tense. In later years, Goldie declined to participate in a follow-up or sequel, even as producers pushed the idea. Steve Martin would later praise the film's outcome, but he never worked with Goldie again. Goldie, for her part, never mentioned him publicly after the film. Behind closed doors, friends say she found him cold and dismissive. A surprise considering his public charm. Actor Peter Sellers. Peter Sellers and Goldie Hawn co-starred in the 1970 British romantic comedy, There's a Girl in My Soup. The movie was a box office success, but the experience was reportedly hell for Goldie. Sellers, a brilliant but notoriously difficult actor, was known for his mood swings and narcissism. He reportedly treated Goldie with disdain, calling her fluff and mocking her American accent. Crew members said Sellers resented Goldie's rising popularity and made passive-aggressive comments throughout filming. One report noted he refused to rehearse with her, claiming she didn't need help playing herself. Goldie later said the filming experience was one of the most uncomfortable of her career. Goldie never worked with Sellers again. When he passed away in 1980, she did not comment publicly. A close friend recalled, "She didn't dance on his grave, but she didn't cry either." Goldie viewed him as emblematic of everything toxic about male stardom, ego without empathy. Goldie Hawn may be full of light, but even stars have shadows in their past. From difficult co-stars to personal betrayals, her journey shows that kindness doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's untold truths, give it a like. For more raw, real, and revealing celebrity documentaries, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss a story behind the stars. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.